Hi, everybody. My
Hi.
name is Anurag Malik. I'm a partner with People Consulting in EY. And on behalf of ETHR World, I welcome all of you to this panel discussion on enhancing employee engagement. While the topic today is of enhancing employee engagement, let me promise you we're not going to limit ourselves to only talking about engagement as an area or sticking to learnings around engagement as an area. The idea is to talk about engagement and how it's evolved, it's changed in the current context, the COVID context, as all of us have known it to be. So we'll explore how has COVID impacted engagement. What are HR leaders doing around managing a workforce that's changed shape or is changing shape? What are they doing? What are their learnings around managing now a very large remote workforce? And most importantly, I think it'll be fantastic if we can take away some learnings in terms of what are some of the norms when it comes to employee engagement in the near future, and what are some of the learnings that we could have. I have a great group of panelists with me. They're amongst the top HR leaders in the country. Welcome all of you. Privileged to have all of you on this panel discussion. So before I get my co-panelists in, I'm sure all of you would be aware that for many years now, enhancing employee engagement has been one of the top priority of HR leaders. I think all of us understand that engagement has a significant impact on employee retention, on productivity, on loyalty. But it doesn't only limit itself to that. True engagement, as different from satisfaction, also has a significant link to customer satisfaction, business outcomes, stakeholder value. But as I was saying, the COVID context has changed, or maybe changed some of this. We'll explore that. We have passed through a phase, we are passing through a phase where there are still fear of job losses. Given remote working, people are not only limited to working from office, they're working out of homes. Productivity is held on for most organizations, at least that's what I hear. But will it hold on into the future? We need to talk about that. There are concerns about mental wellness. And while hopefully a large percentage of the workforce across many sectors will finally come back to work, we're still looks like moving towards the hybrid model where people will be working from office, people would be working hybrid, and there'll be people working from home. So hopefully these are some of the topics that we'll explore over the next 40 odd minutes. Let me start with Yuvraj. Yuvraj, if you can hear me, what's your sense, Yuvraj? Has COVID-19 crisis really impacted employee engagement? I'm also hearing across EY from our clients that employee engagement took a dip in the early months of COVID. But interestingly, engagement levels have come back. In fact, it's come back and are in the positive in some organization as compared to a year back. What's your sense and what are you experiencing at MakeMyTrip?
Thanks, Anurag, and thanks, and great to be back in your panel and get moderated and asked questions by you. And thanks to ETHR World for inviting for this discussion in the August company of all of you. So great to be here. Coming to your question, Anurag, I think these last 6-7 months had been a huge time of reflection. And I think any professional in the field of HR or in business, if says that the person has not gone through a huge reflection, would be really not being honest to oneself. I think many models have got challenged. Many processes what we have been running for eons, years have got challenged and questioned. And many of us, I think that we have got our best creative minds suddenly somewhere working and helping us challenge many things what we have been doing. So I think it had been a great learning experience at the outset for all of us, including we as an organization. I think to your question on engagement, I would say I would like to make few comments. One is while engagement had been different in different organizations, but there has been very sharp differentiation between being busy and being productive. And I think organizations have over a period of 3 to 4 months tried to really figure out that who are the people who are busy and who are the people who are productive. And if this is the differentiation, how do you really bring everybody to the level of productivity? And the organizations have really felt challenged in terms of giving everybody work, activity, or assignments which can keep everybody productive. Whereas in the organization, when things are working as usual, I think it becomes a very normal stuff to see 20% people are still not 100% productive, but 80% people are still to a great extent productive. It's a clear-cut normal distribution curve while the things are working normally. I think what has been challenging, again, I'll say that, it has become difficult to get the cues, and there are surprises are more than what it used to be normal in the normal times in this period, right? Because you are not meeting people, you are not in position to interact with people. So that has made things challenging. Suddenly you come to know that somebody has not been working, somebody has decided to move on. That's a surprise. I think your ability to really sense what is happening has really gone down. And I'll try to come that how does it really work on engagement. Second is, I think that resources and people have got spread it thin. HR structure has got completely spread thin. Leaders in their ability to really talk to people, engage with people, I think that resources have got slightly thinner, and it has become difficult to really make everybody contacted and figure out what's happening. That has been another challenge. Third challenge had been, the formats and rituals have become boring very quickly. So you can't keep doing the video calls and taking pulse of people every day. What is this happening here? Every day morning you do morning meeting. What are you talking? I think that we used to do these conversations normally. So that formats have become boring and needs innovation. And all these three things, as I said, Anurag, have brought in need to be very, very creative on all these areas. And that's the biggest opportunity what I saw, that how to kill surprises, how not to be surprised, how to really manage your bandwidth pretty well, and how you also ensure that your formats are creative, agile, had been the challenges. And all these three have brought in possibility and opportunities for all of us to really be creative in whatever we have been doing. So I think, and just to respond quickly to your thought that how you have really, what I have found to be very effective is, Anurag, I think it's important to talk to people business, because you need to upfront address issues which are plaguing minds of people. You can't really go around talking about what is going on in your personal life, right? People are saying that you have 15-20 minutes, let's talk about something which is far more productive and value adding rather than really beating around the bush. So I think my take had been, and what we have also done in Make My Trip and Go MMT, I think in initial 1 or 2 months, there was a conversation around, we did some right sizing, we did some comp adjustments on a voluntary basis. We did all that stuff and we were highly productive and very, very busy. After that, I realized that I think that you can't really keep beating the same horse again and again. You need to really find out something more. Then we started the process of business updates. And many people who wouldn't have really spoken to the general masses, we got them on the screen. So L-2, leadership minus level leaders handling a specific portfolio, a very creative webinars, formats, wherein people have come on their screen and there have been at least 30 to 40% population of the organization coming and talking about it. So I think that my intent had been, organization's intent had been to look forward, be progressive in your approach, and engage people by conversations which are meaningful and forward looking, rather than really talking about COVID. I think that's how it has been. So these are the opening remarks. Anurag will come back and share some more thoughts on this.
No, meaningful insights, extremely meaningful insights, Yuvraj. Be creative, be agile, talk business, talk meaningful stuff to engage people. Well, I think very, very specific observations. And thank you for that. Let me move on to Dr. Alka Mittal. Dr. Mittal, you represent one of the largest organizations in the country today, ONGC, a mega PSU. We assume an organization that provides great certainty of jobs to people. So at least the belief is that PSUs as a sector, as compared to many parts of private sectors, provided certainty of jobs. Wanted to understand your experiences around managing employee engagement in ONGC. What are some practices that innovative practices or learnings that you've had in ONGC managing employee engagement in this challenging period?
Thanks, Anurag. First of all, let me share with you, we are a little different in the sense that as a public sector, we had our own systems, policies, guidelines, which are to be adhered with. So when this current crisis came, I have always seen as a crisis as a opportunity, and agreeing with you, Yuvraj, we saw that there's a lot that can be done in our company. And fortunately for us, we had already taken we were already I would say riding on the technology wave. So digital, we had gone, and we had all the best of systems in place. So for us to move to a work from home kind of situation, and remaining connected with our field personnel, worked out simpler. But while talking about employee engagement, definitely there was people were jittery, they were a little lost, and especially those who are working in the fields, because they were exposed to the environment, they were exposed to the COVID situation. And for them to be reassured was the biggest challenge for us. So what we as the board members did, while we were interacting daily with each other, just to ensure that we are not missing out on any part of our role which we should be taking on at this particular moment. We were almost every third day interacting with all those who were in different field locations. Our main question would be, how are you and what can we do for you? Because just that connect which we established with them right from day one, and the kind of concern we showed for them, kept their level of engagement high. And while all the time they all understood that for us to be being the energy anchor of the nation, they see themselves as energy soldiers. So they knew that since we are taking care of them, they will ensure that the activities go on, operations go on, and that they did. So while they were in the fields, we were taking care of their families, we were taking care of the seniors at their places, our HR team and our team of colleagues who were working from office or from home were doing that. So constantly we were trying to reassure. Our medical services team did a wonderful job, because we were spread across 24 locations and all remote areas where healthcare facilities are very minimal. So that way I feel for us it was more of a positive which has happened in this scenario, where the change which we were wanting to see in our organization happened a little faster because of the COVID. Work from home, which was earlier not talked about, was happening all the while, and people were not working for 10 to 6 or 9:30 to 5:30. They were working 24 into 7 because of the kind of involvement that is required in our operations. So that is one thing, that sense of pride in their role in this particular organization, which is a part of the national energy scenario, was one thing that kept on making them keep going. And the second thing that was there was that reassurance that someone is taking care of them. So these were the two strengths which I saw coming up in the COVID situation. And this is what kept the level of engagement high. There's a lot I can talk about, but I feel we should be listening to others and then moving forward.
Thanks, Dr. Mittal. I think the points you shared are very, very clear and specific. We're very clear about extend touch point to employees, reassure, and I think this point you made around pride is fantastic. Just people to remember, recall what are they doing, how they're contributing back to the organization and country. I think I can relate a lot to what you said. Thank you for that. Dr. Achar, so you're part of the leadership team of a large financial services organization. So I assume, an organization that will have workforce spread across the country. I wanted to just go one level further with you around this topic of engagement, around how do you do sensing? How do you do pulse checks? It's a large workforce. People are not really necessarily coming into office. Your touch points have gone low. So what's your advice to HR leaders? How do you get a sense of what's going on? And Yuvraj also made this point that he very specifically said that ability to sense what's happened has gone down. So just wanted learnings and guidance from your side for HR leaders on that.
Certainly, I think insurance is one of the industry, and probably Vikas will agree with me that there has not been so much of an effect on this industry compared to any other. In fact, I've joined this company very recently, but I've been following it for a long time, having been in the healthcare, health insurance industry for over 11 years now. And this is one of the companies, Star Health Insurance, which midway upped its revenue numbers, in the sense that the target was X and it went to X plus 30% just because of the traction that health insurance received in the initial months. So yes, to answer your question, there was a dip in the initial stages because we were dealing with a lot of confusion. Particularly, organizations were not, as Dr. Alka Mittal also mentioned, were not so geared up towards work from home, and suddenly it had become a reality. In 24 hours, people had to be equipped. So I think the last week of March and pretty much 15 days in April went in making sure that people were equipped to work from wherever they are. Right. I draw a cue from another point that communication for some reason went up significantly. And that's where the pulse point started coming back. So I remember I had a very short stint in HDFC Ergo before I joined Star Health. And I remember the HR team trying to connect with everybody starting the 15th of April to the end of April. Every single person in the organization, which is 12,000 people, almost we called up about 200-300 people in a day to make sure that they are okay. Now, looking at all the stuff that has been happening over the last 6-7 months, I see multiple playgrounds now emerging. I'll go back to your point, and physical is one. People want to come to office. There is one set. There is one set which is comfortable working from home, and there's a third set which wants to do both. And slowly emerging is a fourth set, which is the gig workers. So to me, the skill set to engage and manage will change for each of these groups. Initially, infection was equal to death. Subsequently, infection was curable, is now what we all decide, because we're seeing the mortality rates as far as the infection is concerned. So the mantra, both at HDFC and as well as Star Health here, has been we're socially distanced, yes, yet digitally connected. So I think productivity has certainly seen an uptick. The local meetings on Zooms, etc., have seen an uptick. And one of the things, or 2-3 of the things that people really, what mattered to people during this time has been financial, wellness, emotional wellness, and physical wellness. I can talk to you about stories both at HDFC as well as Star over the last 1.5 months where we paid over and beyond what the medical bills or the corporate insurance pays for, including a couple of cases where hospitals were not really ready to release bodies because the bills were pretty huge. I mean, in a jiffy, these were approved, and even as high as 8 lakhs or 9 lakhs for the father or mother or somebody have been paid to make sure that the employee feels that the company is taking care. So these stories are now kind of roaming around in the organization, which makes the people get more connected. So Yuvraj was making a statement that in the past, it was all about satisfaction. I mean, we used to do all the kind of gimmicks that are required to say, oh, okay, we did this, we did a birthday bash, blah, blah. People are happy. But I think satisfaction is equal to just being happy, but engaged is being more enthused, passionate, willing to go beyond. And we are seeing that. There is a stress that is there as far as work from home is concerned. Coming back to your question, I think we are encouraging managers to trust people, to be transparent in their dealings, act with compassion, empathy, and flexibility. So the feedback for all this is pretty much coming back in the pulse surveys that are happening on a regular basis to tell us that things are moving in the right direction or not. We haven't asked anybody to leave, and perhaps most of the best attrition figures in the industry at about 9.25%. That's about Star Health I'm talking about, and it was a similar number in HDFC as well. Mm-hmm. So I guess compassion, trust, transparency, and focusing more on the outcomes rather than what have you been doing all day has probably increased that level of engagement and the feedback that is coming saying that this is the right way of doing things.
Got it. So socially,
if you permit, I can just add on.
Oh, absolutely, Vikas, please.
Right. We got a dispersed workforce, as Dr. HR mentioned, yes. Like everyone, you saw a lot of HR connect happening with employees one-to-one. But I must add, there is also a bit on data and analytics, which really helped us. We suddenly start seeing a number of hours which people are logged into the system, which you would never do earlier, right? So you start tracking those to give you a sense of how long hours are being done. We looked at meetings which are arranged after 7, went to spoke to leaders, kind of sensitize them. Okay, fine. The initial wave is through. I think we have to come back to a normal where there is some sense of, So I think those, looking at some data points, we saw leaves. Employees have stopped taking leaves. 6 months, we saw as compared to last year, the leaves went down by 1/10, and we saw pockets where there was 0 leaves, 0 breaks. So I think some of those also helped a lot into sensing, to try and take a pulse of what possibly could be going, within those teams. And those have helped, just to add on to what, as one-on-one connects have really
But Vikas, the thought that crosses my mind is that is higher number of hours of being plugged into office or people not taking leave, is that actually an indication of higher engagement, or is that an indication of uncertainty? In fact, that's a question a lot of HR heads today ask me, that how do I measure engagement of a remote workforce? Are some of the the metrics you're talking is right surrogate, or there are other learnings if you're looking at truly engaging this remote workforce?
A reflection, I would say, and this is a learning which we had. And while leave was one data, and then we start connecting, why, people are not taking leaves. Is it, as you said, uncertainty? To an extent, we also thought it is the same. But when we went deeper and talked to people, see, as Indian, how do you take, what is leave? Leave is vacation. You go to your grandparents' house, you go for a holiday destination with family. Now, that's the typical insight we got of, when we looked at why leaves, people take leaves and all. There's nothing other factors, although it's a medical leave, which was still happening. People used taking medical leaves and all. And we even started getting into the psychology of people and saying, okay, fine, let's now help people enjoy at home, and which is where we started a concept of staycation, which I'm sure many organizations have started doing, where we announced a mass leave, long weekends, and, got people to create itineraries at home. Share your experiences, what you did at home. Now, trust me, some of these small things really kind of helped us to really drive that engagement. But coming to your point, I think it's not just pure data, it's going one step below that and understanding that people are not enjoying. The enjoyment has to be at home. So I think to that extent, somewhere, at least it helped us to really drive home that home is a place where you can have vacation also. And we'll see our team. A lot of us posted pictures with our families, what we are doing, playing board games, cooking. I mean, as a holiday.
Right.
So I think those helped.
Got it. No, absolutely. I think those are probably the right metric. But let me just stay on this point. Mr. Sanskri, if I can get your views just on the same point, because a lot of HR leaders today, after 6 months or 7 months into the crisis, are saying that I'm worried, I'm concerned, because 6 months back, my worry was maintaining productivity, getting business going. That's gone on. But when I'm not talking about engagement, and let me also add the word culture, I've started hearing a lot of people say they are overworked. There are also a lot of people saying, bosses are being too controlling because they are also conscious of. So just wanted your guidance, to HR managers, leaders across the country, in this kind of an environment where you will have a large remote workforce or people who will be hybrid. How do you drive engagement? What are some of the right practices? What are some of the right philosophies to use?
Yeah, Anurag, thanks. I think the way I see it is that the whole aspect of engagement has shifted from the first lockdown to the current where we are. First, no one believed it was going to go on for 7-8 months. So it was thought like, okay, chalo, it's like something for a couple of months, or not even months, I would say, just a month or maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks. So that's a time when I saw a lot of activity, online training programs, exchanging cooking recipes and stuff like that, as something that was happening at the informal level. work had taken a backseat in that initial phase because it was thought that this is just like a temporary thing and we'll get over it. But as time has passed, I think a lot of those things have moved on the background, and the conversations and the calls and everything are getting more towards the work. And I think in a professional organization, then we are a significant number of engineers and we have sites which are working, etc. I think the orientation was shifting very rapidly towards work. Talking about long hours, I don't think much has changed on that because culturally we are an organization which works by and large within the hours of work. Okay, so we did a very quick dipstick survey about a couple of months ago, and we really didn't get any red signals in terms of unusual hours and unusual working conditions that are there. But as far as the cultural aspects influencing what really happens in terms of engagement, I think one of the things we did was, and that was again natural for us, is empower the managers more. And they're the ones who are at the coal face. They're the ones who are interacting with the people. And keeping your ears to them was very more critical than really going down to the last person at the coal face. Also, I think there was this significant amount of communication that happened, which made sure, and that is again another trait of our organization, is of communicating. Yes, things are challenging. Yes, I mean, it's very apparent that the sites are not working. So we don't really have too much of, and more important is no money is coming in because the client is not seeing work. So therefore he's not billing. We are not able to bill and therefore we are not getting the money. So all the challenges that the organization was facing were also seen as challenges of the individual. And culturally, it's not a hire and fire organization. It's not a hire and fire group. So it really led to a situation where, I think it brought in everyone a bit more closer. I think another point which I think I would like to highlight over here is really this aspect of which Vikas talked about leave and hours. Hours, of course, we culturally don't work too long hours. Sites, of course, do work in shifts, but offices are very, and that's a cultural trait that's come down from our promoters. But this aspect of taking breaks is so important, which was completely ignored in the first 2-3 lockdowns. And we realized that. And therefore, what we said very clearly is we enforced people. We actually encouraged people. I won't say enforce the wrong word, but we encouraged people to take leaves. And I led it. I led the whole effort. I took a three-day break. No mails, no phone calls, unless it's an emergency. I mean, that's the only way you're out of office, so to speak. And this really caught on with people, and so people are doing that. Today, we have 30% of our workforce come to office. These are, I would say, the people who like to work from office for whatever reasons they may have. They don't have household problems or space problems, contrary to the popular belief. But they prefer to be in an environment which is conducive for them to sort of focus and concentrate. So I think that's what we are.
Fantastic learnings, and again, coming for an organization in your sector, a large developer, very interesting. Sandeep, if I can come to you, I just wanted to explore a slightly different dimension of employee engagement and something that doesn't get talked about. So I was talking to a number 2 in finance, a financial controller actually in an organization, what they're doing, what he's doing about his employees. And he said, Anurag, do you realize the stress that senior management teams have gone through? The CXOs, the next level managers, we need to also monitor engagement at that level, burnouts, mental wellness at that level. That point kind of stayed with me, Sandeep, and I just wanted to ask your opinion or any experience around that. What does one need to do around managing engagement, or just ensuring that your senior team or your mid to senior management team is engaged, and if they need support, it's being provided? Any experiences and learning around that?
A great question, Anurag. I think there are 3 dimensions, I think, to that, and they're in different levels of understanding. So the first is you go back to basics, right? You go back to Maslow, for example, and you say, what creates psychological safety in this context? What creates professional safety? And you would find that whether you look at Maslow, whether you looked at Skinner, they never had a long-term pandemic in mind when they wrote their theories. They had war in mind, and war had a completely different dimension and attitude. But here you are working and being scared at the same time is something that we wanted to get deeper into. And we actually went back and looked at some of their, most of the time we would have a Hogan report or a PI report for people who have been recruited in the last 5 years. And we actually went and said, guys, go back and look at what happens when you're under stress, because it's like understanding yourself in a stress test. So as a financial services company, we hire for people who can withstand stress at any time, at any moment, because that's the nature of the beast we manage. We are always in the front end of a storm, good or bad. We have to have people who can deal with it. So to some of these people, they are hardy by nature, because there will be an RBI order which will have a huge impact on the business. There will be a product change. There will be a regulatory issue. There will be a financial crisis. So we necessarily have to have very hardy people who can deal with it. But this is something that we never did before. So that was the first one. Second is, we said, guys, you got to have a life beyond work. The other problem that we have with leadership is they have no life. They hardly know their wives and children. They are married to their companies. And we said, look, please find a life. Like, okay, you play golf, but golf also has a professional reason. You occasionally play tennis, but most of the time, from I think 7:30 in the morning because of time zones to about 9:30 in the night, they are married to the company. And so go back and connect to the families, pick up a hobby, start picking up some reading. And we actually got some hobby coaches into play. So these are people who are not going to talk about anything to do with work, but we're saying, how do you find a second life? And that needs practice, that needs help. You just can't randomly go out and start playing tennis. You'll have a shoulder injury, and that'll be even worse for the company. So that was the second. And the third, I think, was that thanks to technology, especially the Microsoft suite, they have they give you weekly statistics on your well-being, mindfulness, collaboration, focus. We try and get a discussion around well-being, which is, how much of free time did you really have? Because now
with your senior management team, are you engaging with the senior management?
We're asking them the question, saying, go back and look at the report. And it comes on a Sunday at 8 o'clock before your week starts. And Microsoft puts together a statistics on how many meetings you attended, who you attended these meetings with, including Zoom calls. It tracks everything that you do with the computer, because this computer and phone have become pretty much monopolistic in terms of communication.
Sandeep, I'm going to, sorry if I interrupted. I'll connect with you separately. I think we can do a piece of paper on engagement for C-suite. C-suite. I'll pick that up with you separately.
So these are the few things that we've got them, thinking about it.
Great. I think great observations around managing it at the C-suite. So we've got a few minutes left. Let me see if I can quickly get some quick insights, maybe 30 to 45 seconds from some of you. Yuvraj, the term in consulting we've started using is reimagining employee engagement now. That some of the norms have been, some of the norms will change. So any quick insight, top 2 or 3 quick insights on when it comes to 3 months, 6 months later, hopefully things getting better. How can one reimagine employee engagement?
I think, we have spoken about various stuff. What I feel there are 2-3 things. One is engagement will happen by providing environment and ecosystem which can make people feel comfortable to work. They are now into the habit of working from their place, from their home, right? At 9:26, I come out after shower, and 9:30, I'm completely functional, right? So I think that people are getting into that space. So organizations will have to think of change of mindset for the managers, leaders, to start treating people equal and provide personal space to people, that will help engagement very, very clearly. I think, Anurag, it will also require loosening up of a lot of HR processes. I don't think that we can get into monitoring people. We'll have to be far more output focused rather than input focused. And we should have very strong measures around outputs. And that is how people will get engaged finally. I think we'll have to also work in the framework of, distributed workplace. We'll have to provide people opportunity to really huddle. I don't know whether I need to have a huddle center in Noida, huddle center in Dwarka, huddle center in Delhi, huddle center in Habal in Bangalore, but I'll have to provide such centers, such places for people to come and unwind once in a while when they need to really do work.
Interesting word, Yuvraj.
So these are some of the ideas, but yes, a complete mind shift change, complete unbuilding of HR processes, and the ways to look at it will be defining.
Got that. Huddle centers loosen HR practices and provide people personal space. Very, very well put. Dr. Mittal, any advice for HR managers? I mean, I'm sure ONGC has hundreds of HR managers across the country, responsible in turn for hundreds of people. So for somebody like you, who oversees, massive HR organization, any quick 1 or 2 advice for HR managers around down the line, how can they manage engagement better in this context?
Anurag, I have always felt, that how do we get our employees and keep them engaged? So what really matters to the organization is the individual adding value to the organization. It matters to the individual as well, because once you know that you are adding value to the organization, you feel that there's a sense of purpose. You are aligned with the organization's objectives. But secondly, what is also equally important from organization's point of view is, are we adding value to our colleagues, to their capacity, their capabilities? And for that purpose, constantly effort has to be to add value to where they are, to make sure that they see that there's a future for them in the organization.
I think what struck me there is that ensure that you're giving comfort to employees, that they're adding value to the business. I think very well said. Dr. Achar,
yes.
Absolutely. Dr. Achar, just one dimension I thought we missed is a lot of people today say that I'm not sure how to engage newcomers. In this environment where new hires will not even get to come to office, how do I give them a sense of our culture? How do I engage them? Just quick 1 or 2 practices or guidance you can share around that.
Yeah. I think everything cannot be digitalized, so I don't think we should tread that path. The human touch is still important, but it has to be digital now. 5 years down the line, hopefully we'll be back to pre-COVID normal. So until then, whether it's a newcomer, whether it's a tenured employee, I think some rules of the game that at least I am encouraging people in our organization to follow is communicating regularly and thoughtfully, providing flexibility both at life level, policy level, which I think somebody referred to, work and home. Be aware of the situations at home, because you never know who's going through what. Some of these, I'm getting stories from many employees and anecdotes, maybe humor. They say, I didn't know you as a wife were like this, or you as a husband were like this, because we're spending so much time together. So be aware. Emotionally, people are being challenged. Financially, they are being challenged. Physically, they are being challenged in terms of putting on weight. So I guess all these also form part of the organization's responsibility in today's context. Don't micromanage. And all of us said that focus on the output. I think the biggest one is honesty and empathy at the center of every dialogue, particularly with newcomers, to say, this is what is happening. This is what we're going to be able to do for you. Once things improve, probably we'll be able to offer you what you had earlier planned when you joined this organization or at the beginning of your career. So that's
well said. Mr. Sansagiri, just coming to you, and I'll just maybe ask Sandeep and Vikas also, just closing thoughts. And again, we have a lot of HR leaders listening to this. So any quick 2-3 guidance, closing thoughts for you that they can take away in terms of managing engagement going forward?
Sure, Anurag, but with your permission, I just would like to build on what Dr. Achar said. I think it's important to build in that honesty and trust in the communication. And one of the strategies that we are looking at is that have their earlier batch members, okay, from the same institution, from the same sort of profile, talk about their goods and bad experiences, the cultural nuances, the DNA of the organization. Because there's nothing more credible endorsement than someone who has been, oh, my senior or super senior or super senior from the same institution. I just thought I will add that as one point over there.
Thank you.
Just to sort of summarize, I think it's important in these times to customize, at the same time have it scalable, the entire aspect of engagement. Gone are the days where cutting a cake will excite everybody, because quite a few people are having a blended model of working. So half of them are at home on their birthdays and half of them are going to be in the office. So it doesn't make sense. Many of those things will have to change. And I think to listen to the employees what they want and what will make them feel connected to the organization, I think is going to be critical.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that's a very fair summary. Sandeep, any quick thoughts? Any quick last thoughts that you'd like
I
to
would
share?
say that it'll be great if organizations focus on employability, because people will need to learn new skills. And one of the best ways for engagement and connect with the company is how do you keep their skills fresh? So, and now there are opportunities, there is time, there is technology to deliver additional skills and learning to people, because we will not work in the same way in all likelihood in the future. So how do you do that? And how do you keep the skill sets fresh is something that would be very useful and will have a direct impact on engagement with the company.
Absolutely. Vikas, before we close, any other closing thoughts?
Yeah. Anurag, I think what Vasant mentioned about customized solutions, I think fully agree with him. But times like these, I think there is a premium to authenticity which will come through, right? I think as HR leaders, while we leaders have to be authentic, but I think times like these, a lot more premium on authenticity would come through. And I want to also emphasize on a point that I think we have to go back. The core need of the employee does not change. Do I belong, out here? Am I part of a bigger, picture? So those are still remains there. So I think staying with our core purpose and value, I think those are going to be always be important. I think testing times, you have to go back and revisit. I won't say revisit, reconnect, recommunicate your core purpose and values, and that really, adds a lot to our whole employee engagement and experience through. So that's what I would.
Thanks, Vishal. Perfect.
I just wanted to one last 10 seconds. Some of us alluded about it. It's more to do with how we have transcended the workplace and where the families have got involved. So if we are talking about engagement with a young generation workforce, older organizations, ONGC, maybe Shapur, and where we all work, I think still there are systems and processes to engage the families, right? But the new age organizations perhaps lack it. I think this whole experience of working from home has more or less made people also aware that connect between the family and the employee, and how it can really be an integral part or leverage to ensure that there's a heavier engagement, which can really result into a better retention, better engaged workforce, and also greater connectivity with the workforce. I think that will make a huge amount of difference going forward.
Thanks, Yuvraj. Thanks for reiterating that. I agree. I think it's been absolutely fantastic. I think the number of dimensions of engagement that we've managed to explore in the last 45 odd minutes is absolutely amazing. And I think I also feel that the needle movement has been very significant. I think some of the established norms around what are the right practices, what are the right policies. In fact, one of you made a statement that we need to loosen up our policies and practices in terms of driving engagement levels. And my takeaway also is socially distant but emotionally connected. Focus on communicating the DNA, connect with employee, emphasizing pride, talk business, talk specific. I think it's the learnings have been incredible. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much. It's been invaluable to get the opportunity to spend these 45 minutes with all of you. Grateful for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anurag.
Thank you.